and we dropped you off. I was in the car with Mom, and even now I'm getting emotional. And she dropped me off back at the office, and I actually sobbed my eyes out. I'm already tearing up. I did. I actually sobbed my eyes out. I couldn't actually stop crying.
And we're live. Are you ready? Let me just make sure.
John, just film already.
Okay, we're going.
Good.
We're going. So this has been a pretty big process, eh?
What, setting up microphones or getting to the stage?
Well, it's been a big process today, but I think the building of this place has been an even bigger process. And I pretty much did everything by myself. I had no help at all.
Oh, yeah.
And I paid for everything myself as well.
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't know, this is my dad, Tony Rubin, and he is an absolute legend. Not just because he's my dad, mainly because he's my dad. But yeah, he does.
I don't think I'm a legend outside this household, though.
I think you're a legend.
well-kept secret.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to start this podcast off with a episode with my dad because we've been through a lot together over the years, and I thought it would be a great way to kind of, just kick things off. You get to know a little bit more about me. You get to know about my past and also about my father.
And also, we get to know how everything works in the studio.
Yeah. It's a good test run, I guess. And so a lot of people know this about me, but a lot of people don't as well. I've had quite a past with addiction. And my dad has been through everything with me. So has my mom, so has my brother. And my family's just been absolutely incredible. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to bring my dad on because a lot of people hear about addiction through the eyes of an addict or through the thinking process of an addict, but not a lot of people hear it from the parent's perspective. So
it's difficult as a parent. There's no doubt.
Yeah, so that's why I thought it'd be interesting to bring you on to give that kind of, just a different perspective, a different take on it. But that's a pretty heavy start to the podcast.
I mean, I remember going to a meeting with you, and I had to go into the parents' room and
then it's called Naranon, I think.
Yeah, is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
And sometimes there was only one other parent in there, and the guy that was there his kid wasn't even in the other room.
Yeah, so basically a lot of parents really struggle with this, and not all kids want to get better, I guess. And a lot of the time parents are left feeling like they don't know what to do. So they go to these meetings, which is generally meant to be a support system for parents whose kids are in recovery as well. But a lot of the time parents go just because they don't know what to do with themselves. Because they need the support and their kids aren't even necessarily in recovery. But anyway, before we get into this,
we got to go back a few years, I guess.
Let's start with the story that happened today. So, I brought a pigeon home today. Today I brought a pigeon home. And I was on my way here to the studio, which is definitely not in my parents' house. It's in my parents' house. So, so I was on my way here today to film this podcast. And in the middle of a 4-lane highway, there was something flapping around. And I thought it was just like a piece of plastic or something. And I drove straight over it. When I looked back in my rearview mirror, it was a bird.
Well, it's one of many. I mean, let's face it, over the years, we've had dogs, cats, rats, snakes, birds. I remember we started off, the story started off, Josh wanted a bird. No, sorry, he wanted a snake.
I'm always bringing animals home, basically.
And to talk him out of it, we told him he could have a bird. And the bird turned into 2 birds and 3 birds. And eventually we built this aviary. And then one day he brought home a white dove.
What do we call it? Angel.
Angel. And then found a second white dove, and all they did was mate all day.
They had a lot of sex.
And there was so much interbreeding, we ended up with 30 or so white doves that all were genetically,
Let's call them genetically modified.
well, they were not too bright.
Poor old angel.
Yeah. Fortunately, eventually we found a home for everything. Somebody picked up the aviary and all the birds and everything.
Yeah, I was getting a bit out of control.
Yeah.
So, I think let's get into it a little bit here. Obviously, a lot of things have been happening. I mean, I'm 25 and I just moved out for the first time, which I think was long overdue, but I'm glad I waited till this point because I feel like I'm in a good place in my life. And also, I just became an uncle and you became a grandpa.
Yeah. And I'm so ready.
You're ready?
Yeah, what a cute kid.
Yeah. What's going through your mind with that? A lot going on.
Listen, it was hard seeing you move out, although I knew it was the right time. I think we all knew it was the right time. You weren't really growing. You were, held up in your room a lot, not really going out much. And I think it's been great for all of us, actually. I thought there would be a big void in the house, but it's been okay. We're already getting used to it, and I think you're getting used to your new place.
I'm not going to lie, I'm loving it. It's not that I'm happy I'm out of the house and away from you guys, because obviously I love being around you guys. It's more the fact that I needed a bit of my own space.
Well, every time I come home after work, you're here, so nothing's really changed.
Yeah, so that's the reason I wanted to keep this place here, is because I want to have like a workspace that's with you guys as well. So it's like a reason to come home every day, and it's also rent-free. So, it's been a good transition, I guess. It's nice to be around here all the time, but it's also nice to go home and have my own space.
Absolutely.
But it's been a long process to get here, I guess. And I think we should start from when I was a little boy.
Okay.
Little Josh right away.
What are you trying to figure out what went wrong by us going back so far?
Yeah. So I want to start off because obviously this is about the main theme of this episode is like addiction and the addiction through the parents' eyes. So I think we should start right from the beginning. And I think the beginning starts with school, really.
Listen, you were a normal kid. I mean, everything, you were absolutely normal kid. You had a normal upbringing. You did everything you were supposed to do. There was no trauma. I think you were lucky that your mom and I have always been close. And we've never had any problems with alcohol abuse or with anything really. It was really, you really got brought up in a normal household. There's no doubt about it. I don't know how you feel about that, but
I mean, a lot of people that I see that struggle with addiction, a lot of them come from really bad households. And I always said that I have the best family you could ever have. And that's honestly the way I feel, because not many people would put up with what you guys put up with. And growing up, I had everything I ever wanted. There was nothing that I didn't have.
Yeah.
Whenever I needed help with something.
We never wanted for money. We were always okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not mega wealthy people, but you always had everything really that you needed, So you weren't spoiled coming from a really rich family, but you certainly didn't want for anything either.
Yeah, I mean, I always had good schooling. I always had clothes. I always had, you know what I mean? We went on family vacations. I had everything really.
Yeah.
So
listen, there's no doubt you were a different kid as well. I mean, we certainly had some really funny moments.
Yeah, so I've written down here, talk about the Jackass videos.
Well, I think maybe we go back a little bit from that, and I don't know if I got the story 100% right, because I only heard it second or third hand, but it was about you and that tape that you picked up at school. There was they had sectioned off an area at the school.
Oh, no.
No, we'll have to talk about this. So I don't know, something happened at the school and
it was in the hall. They had put security tape around the hall.
Security tape. So somehow Josh had got hold of a piece of this tape. And of course, as usual, you always had to sit at the front of your class because that's the only way a teacher could keep an eye on you.
Yeah.
Right? So you can correct me if I'm wrong with this. And you were at your desk playing with this tape, right?
Yes.
And your teacher told you to stop playing with it?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so then you had it underneath the table and you were still playing with it. And
She said, here's if you keep playing with the tape, I'm going to take it away from you.
Okay, so what happened when she tried to take it away from you?
So
there was some resistance, right? You couldn't get it.
So basically, I had taken the tape and I had wrapped it around
your penis,
for lack of a better word, penis. And she was like, if you keep playing with it, I'm going to take it away from you. So I kept playing with the other side of the tape and she came to take it away from me and she was yanking on this tape and like, it wasn't going anywhere. And she was like, let go of the tape. And I was like, I'm not holding the tape. And she yanked it so hard, it snapped.
Thank God.
Yeah. Anyway, but also there was the Jackass videos as well, which were...
Well, listen, most of the time, I didn't really know what was going on with the Jackass videos because I was at work during the day. But normally we would find the evidence of of videos that had been done in our absence. And I remember the one day coming home and I used to have a Fender trailer in the driveway. You remember the trailer? And it was to carry my bikes around whenever we went on a bicycle ride out of town. And I got home one day, and as I parked next to it, it was completely out of shape. It was,
I wouldn't call it out of shape.
It was buggered. It was
wrecked.
It was wrecked. And nobody was saying a word. And of course, my wife a mother protects her son. So she wasn't saying a word either. But a couple of weeks later, all was revealed in a video. Down the road from our house, there was a big pit where somebody was about to build a house. And Josh and his friends had decided to launch the Fender trailer over the edge of the pit with him inside.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah. And how did that go for you?
Yeah, it was painful, but we got the shot. So as a kid, I didn't really care about the pain or anything. It was just all about getting the shot.
Getting the video.
And
it's still about that, right?
It's still about that, yeah. I mean, as I got older, it kind of got even more hectic in a way because it wasn't really just like doing silly pranks or stupid stunts. It got into like really like my documentary style work, which takes me to really dangerous areas.
Listen, I think as much as we don't like it as a parent, but I think as a documentary photographer, you have to take those risks.
Of course.
Otherwise, you're not going to get the photos. You're not going to get the video. And it's terrible, but that's what it is. That's what it is. I know that's what it takes. I mean, those good guys are the ones that are in the firing line. They're in the dangerous areas and they're not hiding. They're out there. So
yeah, I mean, and how do you feel when I come home and I'm like, you guys are so like desensitized to it though, I think, because you don't like when I come home and I've been hit with bricks and stuff, because I remember the one time I went to a protest and it was in the middle of a township and I was with all the riot police and they all had riot gear. And I was obviously just in my shirt and like shorts and whatever. I was just dressed normally. And I was walking down this alley and this guy came over the alley and whacked me with a brick and it hit my neck. And I remember it cut my neck all the way down. But if that brick had hit me in the head, I would have 100% either been severely brain damaged or dead. And I come home and I tell you guys, you're like, oh, yeah, just go wash it up.
No, hold on. You're not telling the full story. I think you came home and said you got hit in the neck with a brick and somebody threw one at your car.
Oh, yeah, my car was stoned.
So I think Mom and I ran straight out to have a look to see the damage on the car because we were so tired of fixing it. We weren't that concerned about that.
The car was always getting wrecked as well. Man,
I seem to remember we ran out to have a look at the car and we're like, damn, we're going to fix this car again.
But anyway, I want to talk, no, because I feel like you're digressing here. I feel like you don't want to talk about it in a way, because every time I bring up the addiction, you kind of start on these tangents about stories. So let's get back to this again.
Okay, go for it.
What was it like sending, so as I got in through my schooling career, obviously I didn't do well, right? I was never doing well. I was never interested in school. And at the age of 16, my drug usage got it started getting much worse. What was it like sending your 16-year-old kid to a rehab facility for the first time?
Listen, as a parent, you're kind of in a little bit of denial about what your kids are getting up to. And I mean, we obviously knew you had a drug problem because you would sleep all day, you were up all night, you got really thin. You were for a long time. You really, really thin. You lost a lot of weight, and you weren't interested in anything. You had no interests. You weren't playing sport. You used to really love your sport. You remember you used to play a lot of soccer, and you stopped all of that. Everything just disappeared. And then I remember you probably don't know this, but the first time we took you into a rehab, you weren't really wanting to go.
I was very young.
Time.
I was very young, so
You
I didn't understand it.
You were young. You were not wanting to go. I don't think you even realized you had a problem. And we dropped you off at the rehab. It was the one in Rondebosch, I think, was
Kenilworth.
It was in Kenilworth. That was for the 3 weeks. And we dropped you off. I was in the car with Mom. And even now I'm getting emotional. And she dropped me off back at the office. And I actually sobbed my eyes out. I'm already tearing up. I did. I actually sobbed my eyes out. I couldn't actually stop crying. It was such an emotional thing, you know? I look, even now, I'm like tearing up. And have you ever seen me tear up?
Not in a long time.
I don't think I've ever teared up in front of you.
You have before.
Hey? But not often, hey? And I just broke into this uncontrollable sobbing. It was really, it was terrible. Yeah, it was terrible. And then you were in there for 3 weeks, and I don't think it did that first stint in rehab didn't really do much for you.
I remember as soon as I left, I started using again. I got home and I started using
you
instantly.
were back straight in. You just weren't ready. You know, so yeah, it was tough. That first bit was tough for sure.
And then I think I went into treatment again a little while later as well. I don't quite remember. I remember I went twice when I was very young. And then I think the 16-year-old was, when I was 16, wasn't even my first time. I don't know. I have trouble remembering the dates exactly, but I remember when I was 16 years old, I decided that I was leaving school as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You had no interest. I mean, I remember going to the school, meeting with your headmistress at the time, and they were saying, yes, we'll get you a scribe, we'll get you this, we'll get you that. And I think I turned around and I said to you, what do you want? Do you remember that?
Mm.
And you were like, I want out.
I was just so done with it. I really struggled at school. I had zero interest in it. And I give credit to my old school because they were always trying to help. And
absolutely. I think they were amazing. They really tried.
And I was a very naughty kid. And the fact that they always wanted to keep me there and trying to help even more was, I gave a lot of credit to them. And what was going through your head when I made that decision? Because obviously I didn't have a clear vision of where I wanted to go with my career. I was very young. I was 16, 17 years old. Luckily I did start studying. I got in somewhere, luckily. But as a parent, because I know growing up for kids, parents are like, this is what I want for my kid. I want them to grow up. I want them to be normal. I want them to have friends. I want them to finish school, get a good job, and get married. And I grew up and I was a drug addict and I didn't finish school.
Listen, at that stage, you must remember you were already the second child, right? So your brother, funny enough, was at the same school and didn't fit in either for different reasons. I mean, Daniel's never had a drug problem. There was no issues but he just never fitted in that school. So we had already been through it once before. And when he moved to Abbott's, he fitted in really well and he prospered. So we figured, well, you're not fitting in, let's give it a shot. And let's see, although at the time we didn't have any clear plan. But I think moving you to Abbott's might have not have been such a great idea because I think...
I don't think it was a bad idea. I think it's a great school.
Yeah.
I just think I was the problem, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe, but I think there was a lot of kids there with similar problems to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you aligned yourself and I think there was no turning back at that point. But it was hard. It was hard. It caused real problems in our marriage, I must say. It was a very tough thing because your mom was very soft on you and anything you wanted money-wise, she was giving you. And you went through a fortune of money.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I was fully hooked, and I would do anything I could to use. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we know. I mean, things were going missing. And I couldn't. I never at that stage. I always used to run our business account, and Mom used to run our personal account. So I never really knew how much money you were going through because she would just say, listen, we need some money. And I used to transfer it. But when I look back at how much money you went through, it was a fortune.
I mean, it wasn't only that though, because I was thinking about this last night. And a lot of people always say that when I talk about the things that I did when I was inactive, when I was using drugs, that I'm very like emotionless because I honestly feel like a different person did them. Because that's how I feel now. I feel like I'm a completely different person.
Well, I mean, you are a different person.
So when I talk about these things, if I'm not like getting emotional or anything like that, it's just because it's honestly, I cannot believe that I was doing these things. And I mean, some of the more hectic stuff besides obviously the using like ridiculous amounts of money and stealing from you guys and was the car crashes.
Oh yeah. And there was a lot of those, huh? We went through, I don't know how many cars were written off. 3 cars, maybe 4 cars.
Yeah. So this is another thing that's come up when I bring these stories up is like people go, how could you as parents keep letting him get into a car after what he was doing? And I think it's not on you guys because I was so manipulative that I was like, oh, if I don't have a car,
Josh,
I'm not
you're still manipulative. No, you're just sober.
Yeah, but it's like if I was like, oh, I wrote my car off, and then I had this massive accident where it was. Do you want to tell the story?
Well, are you talking about the one in the Seat?
Yeah,
in your car. So I got a call. I was at work, which is funny enough, just down the road from where the accident was, and I was told that you were in a really, really bad accident. And I grabbed your brother, Daniel, and we hopped in the car and he said to me, gun it, go. And I actually said to him, I said, just calm down because whatever has happened has happened. At that stage, I was resigned to something bad happening. I wasn't panicked at all. It was a weird thing.
And my friend called you to tell you about the accident, right?
But it was so weird that I was so composed and calm about it, And I got there and I saw you were fine and I mean, but the car was totally written off.
When you got there, I was lying on the floor.
Yeah, but you were okay. Once I talked to you, I could see you were fine. So, but. That just shows you how desensitized already we were to it, But I still go back to this, the point where I still don't think we realized how bad you were.
No, I don't think you still realize how bad I was.
You always think the best for your kids, and I mean, we knew you had a problem, but I don't think we realized how big it was,
And with that accident, I mean, I went into a tree going like 85, 90, 100 Ks an hour.
But you always had a story. It was always somebody else's fault.
It was always someone else's fault.
Always somebody else's fault, And of course, we wanted to believe you, Oh, you went through a red light or, oh, he was speeding or, oh, it was always something,
Yeah. And then the next week after that accident, do you remember what happened?
Yeah, another accident.
So
I lent you my car and you had a crash in that one and wrote that one off.
And flipped it.
Yeah. And flipped the car in front of you, I think.
I flipped the R. So it was just so out of control that, and like people always say, like, how could you know what I mean? As parents, to me, they go, how do your parents let you do this? And I'm like, I was so manipulative that they just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't give me a car, how am I going to get to school now?
Yeah, absolutely. You used to play all the games on
the
us.
guilt trips,
all the mind trips, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think is a thing that pretty much every parent that has a child is a parent of an addict goes through.
Yeah, I think so. Because we want to believe, our kids. It's a thing as a parent. You want to believe your kids, and you want to believe that they're not lying to you, or they're doing the best, but unfortunately, it's not always like that.
And then it comes to the years of the arrests.
Yeah.
So this is the thing with...
Listen, I'm glad you were arrested. And if it had happened sooner, maybe you would have turned around sooner. Because I think the arrests were your turning points.
So I think this is like the thing is, if you've noticed through this talk that over the years, things just steadily get worse and worse and worse. And it starts with a little bit of using, then it gets to like, now it's kind of every day, and then leaving school, then it's the car accidents, and now it's like you're at the point where you're starting to get arrested for your crimes. Things steadily get worse and worse and worse. And I think this was the breaking point for all of us, where it was, I got arrested.
Well, I think you had 3 triggers. The first one was getting arrested at Rocking the Daisies. And I remember we came through to, I think it was Darling.
It was Darling, yeah.
Darling. We came through and you were lying on the floor in a dirty cell in Darling. Really completely out of it. That was the first time.
And what was that like for you?
It nearly destroyed us. It was so, we came back, but we had kind of decided you were going to stay in there for the weekend.
I remember, so I don't remember, I remember being in there, and then I remember seeing you guys come, and I don't know what was going on. Well, I do, but I stood up and looked at you guys. I don't remember saying anything, and then I just remember going on the floor.
Lying down again.
And just going to sleep.
We didn't say much. And we talked to the cops outside, and the constable in charge there was so nice. He was like actually sorry for you. You know what I mean? He was actually really sorry for us too. And we hired a lawyer, and we basically, I don't know if you remember. Well, of course you remember what happened, but you ended up having to go to court, and fortunately, they caught you with a very, very small amount of drugs.
But do you remember what happened in between that time of going to court?
Yeah, you got almost caught again.
So yeah, should I get into that story a little bit?
I'll let you tell that story because I wasn't there. But you told me afterwards. But you'll tell it.
Should I actually tell the whole story, or?
Yeah, why not? Maybe I don't know the whole story. I know most of it.
Yeah, this is a wild story, and this is something that I am, like, honestly very, very ashamed of. And at the time, I just didn't know what to do. But let me start from the beginning. So I went out with some friends, and on that night, this was in between the trial. Like, this was in between court dates. And on that night, we went out and things got a bit crazy. My friends were getting into fights, and I was running around looking for drugs. And I remember being on my way home. I was done with that night, and I was like, I've got my stuff already now, and I'm gonna go home. So on my way to the car, some friends were like, come to our car and we'll use together. And then you can, I'll go home. So I went to their car, which was in an underground parking lot. And I was sitting in the car, and there was a lot of commotion already because my friends had been fighting and that kind of stuff. So when I was in the car, the police were already kind of circling everyone. And I just remember seeing the police walk down into this underground parking lot. And I was like, we're done. And the car smelled of weed, and I had drugs on me as well. So anyway, the cops came to the car, and they told us to get out of the car and on our knees. And obviously, I was about to go to court for the other things I had done. So I was like, I cannot be here right now. I need to get out of here. So I stood up and I ran. I got up off my knees and I ran away. And I just remember hearing the cops go, "We'll get him." So I sprinted as far.
Well, you kind of left your friends there as evidence.
Yeah, no. This is a horrible thing to say, but I can see what their faces looked like when I got up and ran away. I didn't see what they looked like, but I know they were all just like, like gobsmacked, like this kid just up and left us. And it was, majority of it was my fault because I was, you know what I mean? I had the stuff on me. But anyway, so I get up and run away and I'm running down this road and suddenly I jump over a fence and I'm in someone's house now. And all I hear is cops going up and down the road, flying up and down. And now I'm like, what do I do? So I'm stuck in between these two walls and I climb and I'm on the roof of this house now. And I'm looking on the road and I see that there's just people flying up and down. Cops literally everywhere. I don't know why there was so many cops for just me. But I was on this roof and I had no idea what to do. So I called an Uber to the location where I was at. And as soon as I got there, I hopped off the roof and into this Uber and went home. And I was up the whole night, absolutely bricking it. I was really, really scared, but I kind of thought I'd got away with it. It turns out my friends that I was there with had spent the night in a holding cell. And the next day, the mother of one of my friends came to the house and just was broken. She was distraught.
And that's how we found out what had happened.
And that's how my parents found out what had happened. And I think that was pretty much one of the big breaking points when we realized that this
I remember you sitting in that spare room going, they're going to put me in Polesmore. You know what they do to people like me in Polesmore?
I know it sounds funny, but I was so scared that I was going to get sent to, because that's what I was being told by people, that I was going to get sent to Polesmore because obviously I had already violated stuff from the other case. And I was just so scared. And I remember you sitting with me and just going, there's nothing we can do. You know what I mean? We're just going to have to see how this goes. And thankfully, everything worked out in the end. And
well, we had a good lawyer.
But even after,
I mean, that's
yeah.
We had a good lawyer, and he helped the other kids as well, even though they might not know it. But he helped the other kids too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you're not in contact with any of them anymore. I wonder if that also shocked them, that they turned their lives around. I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure, but for me, this is where the real insanity comes in, is that where it was like a breaking point, I still kept on using. I remember one day you came to me and you said, Mom had just gone away or something.
Well, I took the opportunity. Your mom was in Australia, I think, visiting her sister. And
before you even get into the story, I remember her telling me, because Mom came to say goodbye to me before she went away. And she remembers shaking me in bed and trying to wake me up to say goodbye.
And what, you just didn't wake up? Or?
Didn't even wake up. She actually, I wasn't even moving really. But that was a normal thing at the time. Imagine that as a mother, trying to wake your kid up to say goodbye because you're going on a holiday and they're just not moving.
Well, I saw that as an opportunity when she left. And no disrespect to your mom, because obviously she's very soft, you know, and I saw it as an opportunity to do something about it, without that, something I could do without her interfering, you know, without her being able to talk me out of it. Because it was, believe me, it was hard enough as it is, without somebody else trying to talk you out of it or saying maybe it's not necessary, or, you know, you understand. And I think we sat and had a talk. And I think at that stage you realized that you were going one way.
I mean, a lot of people say, a lot of people in the circles I'm in, because I obviously do a lot of like NA and I do meetings, and a lot of people say that they were dragged into rehab.
No, I think you were ready.
I remember you coming to me.
It wouldn't have mattered what I said. If you weren't ready, it wouldn't have been right. You were ready.
I remember you coming to me and saying, do you want to go to treatment? And I said, please.
Yeah, correct. And that was the first time that we had asked that question that way. Before it was, you're going for treatment, right? It's a big difference.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really me. It was you were ready. You were ready for it, for sure.
I was ready for 21 days.
Yeah. Well,
6 months later, still in rehab.
That's where we lied a little bit. We said, you'll do 3 weeks and then we'll see, right? There was a lot of we'll see.
Yeah.
And after that 3 weeks, you ended up doing another 2 weeks in Hout Bay. And then you stayed on, I think, a little bit longer, and it eventually ended up at 6 months.
I was the star pupil at my rehab center, I tell you. I was the star.
But I mean, I don't think you can go through 7 years of addiction and be cured in 3 weeks.
So this is the thing that whenever I give advice to people about getting clean, I always say that 21 days is not enough. For me, what I really realized is, because obviously at 21 days, I was ready to leave. And I was like fighting and kicking and screaming to try and get out. I was like, I'm fine, I'm ready. And then that happened all the way up until 3 months, I think, which is about 90 days. And I've heard this saying before, it takes 90 days to break a habit. Obviously, you never break addiction. It's always going to be there. But I think after that amount of time, your brain starts to...
You start thinking differently and you start seeing things differently. I think it's important. You know, it's a big thing.
You start to clear up a little bit. And that's definitely started happening, because I remember at 3 months, I was like, I'm in the right place. And it got to the point where they kicked me out of rehab because they were like, you're getting too comfortable here. But
you also had a good psychologist there.
Great one.
I mean,
Shout out.
You bonded with her, and she helped you a lot, you know, and she still helps you today.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was also a big part of it. So
100%.
But I remember when you started coming home for weekends. Do you remember that episode where we took you out for breakfast and you had a poppy seed bagel?
Yeah.
And then when you went back on that Sunday night, you tested positive.
Yeah, I remember
that.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It wasn't a poppy seed bagel. It was a poppy seed. Literally, like the whole thing was just poppy seeds, basically. And I didn't realize that would show up on a drug test. So that became like a whole number. And eventually they
But at that stage, your mom and I had no doubt that you were clean.
Yeah.
I mean, we were on your side. That's for sure. So
yeah. So it comes up positive on the normal P tests, but they took me for a real test, which obviously shows the difference, and it came up as negative. But the thing with rehab, which is so great, is it gives the parents enough time to go, now I know my kid is in a safe place. It's because before, you guys were always worrying about me. Where's he?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Why is he?
At night, we hardly didn't sleep well because we were always wondering where you were, what you were up to, you know?
Why is he coming home at 4 a.m? Or why is he going out at 4 a.m? To do what? Is he getting in a car accident today? You know what I mean? Every time, to this day, Debbie, every time I leave the house, Debbie goes, which is my mom, she says, drive safe, be careful. It's because it's burnt into her memory. Every time I left the house when I was in active addiction, there was a possibility I was either not going to come home, or I was going to crash, or something was going to happen. And the thing with rehab is it gives the parents time to decompress and go, my kid is in a safe place.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm changing the subject a little bit, but when I walk into this room with all these lights, these bright lights, 4 or 5 years ago, you would walk into this room, you'd be growing something in here with all these lights. That's what I thought about when I walked in here. I thought, oh, it's like a growing room. Yeah? It's a grow room, yeah.
Yeah, these aren't the right lights, man.
No, but even still, that was kind of what went through my head, you know? You know, 4 or 5 years ago, you would walk in here, there would be plants growing in here.
They definitely would.
Yeah.
This would be the most bomb-ass grow room ever. Lights everywhere. And, I would have tricked you into helping me build it as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I tried to trick you into building it before.
No, I don't think I was that stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. But I kind of maybe want to... I mean, is there anything else we haven't really covered?
Listen, you've talked about your addiction, but you haven't really talked about what you've achieved after your addiction.
This is it. I've actually completely missed that section. You're correct.
I mean, the funny thing was, as soon as you were clean, you started really doing well. Things started to fall into place for you. Hey? Do you remember that? I can't remember exactly what it was, but you took some pictures and suddenly you had interest in your photos and things were happening for you just almost straight away. And I think you could see that, that you could now focus and concentrate. And I think you probably put in a lot of your effort into what you do now.
So it was like almost like a sign that when I got clean, I just started doing really well.
Doing well.
And over the years, I mean, so much has really changed. I can wake up in the mornings. I can be responsible.
You're still manipulative. You still twist us around your finger.
No more than a normal kid. I don't think.
Yeah, maybe not.
But
I mean, we've talked for half an hour about your addiction, but don't undermine your success. You know, there's parents out there that are going to watch this, and they need to know that things can happen after addiction, that you found great success.
Yeah, so I mean, I've done it a bit of an unconventional way. Like, obviously, there's the 12...
it wasn't going to be any other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll break it down. There's a 12-step program in Narcotics Anonymous, and I go to NA every weekend. When I came out of treatment, I stopped seeing every friend that I had ever made, pretty much, except for maybe one or two.
You had no friends.
I had no friends.
You had no friends.
I had no real schooling. I had no life at all.
No, but the one thing you did have going for you was your camera.
It's my camera, yeah.
It was. It's true, though.
Yeah.
I mean, your camera, you had interest in your camera long before the addiction.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I've been taking photos since I was 10, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you put your energies back in again.
It's been a long process, and I have built things up slowly over time. It's been almost 3 years now that I've been clean, and it took me years. It took me probably a year and a half to, well, not years. It took me probably a year and a half, 2 years just to make some new friends. And then it took me even longer to build confidence again. And you know what I mean? There's so many things that I've built up over time. And now it's got to the point where I can go, I want to move out. And I moved out. And
did you see, we gave you no resistance. We knew you were ready. So,
yeah.
You know, we knew you were ready. As hard as it was for us, we knew it was the right thing. It's also hard for Jesse, our dog, because he doesn't do wacky Wednesday burgers with you. But
yeah, yeah. But I think everything has come to a great point. And I just want to ask you, just to end off on, what advice would you give to parents that are in a similar position as you, and maybe thinking of throwing in the towel, or this is just too much, I can't keep going? Or maybe the advice is throw in the towel, because at some point there has to be some tough love. But what is your advice to parents that went through something that, or are going through something that you went through?
I think you can't walk around with blinkers. You've got to know what's going on and how deep your kid is into it. You've got to make sure money's tight. Access to money is a big thing, you know, because, I mean, if you didn't have access to money, it would have been a lot harder, right? So access to money is tight, and you kind of also have to forgive your kid. You have to forgive your kid, because I believe it's a disease.
It is 100%.
You didn't want to be like that.
Mm.
I'm sure you didn't want to be like that. And we believed in you. We were strong enough in our home and our marriage that we thought we could help you. To me, that's the biggest thing I've done in my life, was to help you recover. I hope it looks like I've done enough, but I hope I've done enough, you know, but to know that we'll always be there for you, you know, and you've got to forgive your kids. They're going to do stuff that they're not proud of and that you're not proud of them doing. But you've got to forgive them and teach them the right way.
I think you definitely did that. And I think what you said was very important, where it's, when you see the signs, don't choose not to believe them, because it's easier. And I think that's what you guys did for quite a long time.
Absolutely.
You were so in denial and you didn't want to believe what was going on. So you just kind of ignored it until it got to the point where you couldn't ignore it anymore.
Absolutely. For sure.
So I think that brings us to the end of the first episode of the Wide Awake podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And
I hope we didn't put you to sleep.
I hope you're still wide awake after this episode. But yeah, it's been quite the process, this, and I'm very excited to see where this goes. And thank you, Tony, my dad.
It's a pleasure. And we're excited to see what you do with your profession and your future.
Yeah.
Now that you can see things clearly.
Cool. See you next week.